Paul? Yeah. I downloaded chapter 3 of some chapter of some book or manual or something. Yeah. And I really didn't read through it, but it had something to do with domestic violence. Yeah. Now, the thought was that those involved in the judiciary, yeah. hmm they're somewhat familiar with what's known as the statutory framework. Yes. This is one of those legal words where a Washington statutory framework, the domestic violence statutes, yes, are interspersed throughout the Revised Code of Washington, the RCW, with the primary purpose of protecting the domestic violence victim and treating domestic violence as a serious crime. Now, in addition to criminalizing domestic violence and providing for domestic violence shelters, yeah, the Washington legislature has recognized the economic barriers to escaping domestic violence by adopting the family violence option, yes, as part of Washington's Work First Welfare to Work program, passing legislation providing that domestic violence victims could continue to be eligible. For unemployment compensation if they left their jobs to protect themselves from abuse. Now, the Washington legislature has also recognized the crucial need for victims to access safe housing by enacting protections for victims, yeah, against eviction for the actions of their abusers and adverse rental decisions of Washington's Residential Landlord-Tenant Act. Now, Washington state has evinced a clear public policy to prevent domestic violence. Yes. A policy the legislature has sought to further by taking clear, concrete actions to encourage domestic violence victims to end abuse, leave their abusers, protect their children, and cooperate with law enforcement and prosecution efforts to hold the abuser accountable. Danny versus Laidlaw Transit Company. Yeah. This is a real problem in these dissolutions of marriage. Let's see. You have no video or audio testimony of me during any of the court hearings when you issued the dissolution of marriage. Right. You have no video or audio testimony of me when issuing protection orders. Yes. The only video and audio there is of the jury trial that took place in 2012. Yeah. Where I was found not guilty. Yeah. And then there was the arrest that took place on January 4th for the allegation of violating the restraint provisions on December 31st. Yeah. And there was the arrest and the video arraignment and the court hearings in Jefferson County for 16 months. Yes. Where you obligated me to do a 1077. But there's nothing about me having a conversation with a judge, yes, before you issuing protection orders or the dissolution of marriage. Now, domestic violence as a crime, yeah, the Washington statutes do not define a separate crime of domestic violence as is done in other states. With limited exceptions, the Washington approach is to rely on what? Let's see here. Existing criminal statutes, but to supplement them with special procedures in cases involving domestic violence. As a result of statutory changes 2010 that allow prior domestic violence related misdemeanor offenses to be scored in felony sentencing, the status of the relationship should be alleged in the information found by the jury or the court. Kind of nice that they found me not guilty. You can't really include that in felony convictions. Yes. And it was nice that you didn't put any evidence in that I wasn't in Squim right now. But this statute, yes. State versus Felix, State versus Goodman. The RCW 10.99.010. It is the intent of the legislature that the official response to cases of domestic violence shall stress the enforcement of the laws to protect the victim and shall communicate the attitude that violent behavior is not excused or tolerated. Yes. Now, this sounds like the state's response when questioning the validity of the underlying protection order. Yeah. The protection order that does not have any notice or opportunity to be heard to myself. Right. The protection order that was put on the vine on August 15th, right now. The protection order. That has the forgery of the ex officio Superior Court clerk? Yes. That the intent of the legislature that criminal laws be enforced without regard to whether the persons involved are or were married, yes, cohabitating or involved in a relationship. Oh. Now, because of the serious nature of domestic violence, the Court of Domestic Violence Actions shall not dismiss any charge of delayed disposition because of the concurrent dissolution or other civil proceedings. Yes. So you can say we had all kinds of problems in the marriage. Right? I could say that you intentionally were obstructing the investigating of any accusation of domestic violence during a dissolution of marriage because the 10.99.041 requires, it actually says dissolution. Yeah. The criminal laws be enforced without regard to whether the persons involved are or were married, cohabitating, or involved in a relationship. Yeah. Now, because of the serious nature of domestic violence, the court in domestic violence actions shall not dismiss any charge or delay disposition because of concurrent dissolution or other civil proceedings. Yeah. Now, my wife motions the court for a concurrent dissolution of marriage. Yeah. And within the petitioning for the dissolution of marriage, yeah, I'm arrested 3 days later. You know, I'm going to sue you for this. Right. I'm going to sue you for allowing for the issuance of a dissolution of marriage. Right. Where I was on trial. I was found not guilty. Look. And then you did not give me any notice of court hearings after I responded. Yeah. And then you decided that you would allow her to put all those little checks in each of those little boxes. Yes. Where she alleged, yes, accused me. She said he's a perpetrator of domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault. He abandoned us, and he's been neglecting the children ever since he got back because he won't get a job. Now, concurrent dissolution, RCW 10.99.040, in parentheses, ones, provides concurrent dissolution of marriage. Now, for every attorney and every judge in the United States that says, well, you can't sue me, pow! If you allow for any concurrent dissolution of marriage where there's any documentation of domestic violence without investigating it, yes, I can. And before you obligate any mental health evaluation, you better be pretty darn sure about the individual having some sort of mental illness or defect.